Hey YouTube, this is Alice at Wonderland Speaks. I'm coming to you today. It is Friday. I understand it's also a federal holiday. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell if you enjoy my content. My channel is about lifestyle. Currently, I'm discussing weight management, and that's basically it for now. So if you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. It is, let's see, I think it's still morning. No, it's it's a little after 1 p.m. here on Friday, and it's a great day. It's November the 11th, I believe, 22. Today is my Ozempic blog post number 2. Now, if you recall, my last video, which was my first one on this topic, was making you guys aware that I started Ozempic back in May. I've decided that I won't be coming every week to give a post, because what I have discovered is that unlike so many plans out there that will give you quick results, and as I've stated before in my last video about this, I make the comparison because it is the only thing that I can compare this to, which is bariatric surgery. I had bariatric surgery back in, I believe, back in 2000 or 2001. So it was more than 20 years ago. But still, the last time I had the results that I am having now is when I had the surgery. That's where the comparison stops. The bariatric surgery for me was a very fast-paced process. The weight came off very quickly. Back then, because it was major surgery, you stayed in the hospital for at least a week. Before I came home from the hospital, and I went in, I think at about 3:10, maybe 3:15, somewhere in there. When I left there, I had lost 25 pounds. That's in less than 7 days. That is drastic. That is extreme. Compared to Ozempic, which I'm still processing, as I've stated, this is my Ozempic journey. I'm discovering that this is a very slow process, which initially was hard for me to adjust to because I was accustomed to very quick results. But also, I'm recognizing this is the best thing for me. When I lost weight before, with the surgery, the weight comes off so drastically, your body does not have an opportunity to transition to what's happening. And so what happens is you're basically shrinking from the inside out. But on the outside, you just look sucked in, but not in a healthy way. And the weight or the excess skin that you have from losing that weight so quickly is a lot of sagging, loose, overlapping, depending on how extreme or how much weight you had to lose. The weight just laid there. Now you may say, well, all you needed to do was some exercise, and that probably would have helped that. No, when I was, when I had the surgery, I think I was about 40. And well, I must have been older than that, maybe 42. So at that time, I was very much active. I did have a routine. I came home with staples in my body that had to stay there for about 6 weeks. I also came home with a tube sticking out of my stomach that had to stay there There was a period of adjustment where the tube was left. Now, tube in the hospital while I was there was used for feeding. Of course, it was all liquid. Again, everything about that process was extremely extreme. I wasn't eating food. It was a complete liquid diet. And the tube in the hospital was for feeding. But when I came home, they left a partial of the tube in case I had to come back and I had complications. So I was so desperate. It was the only recourse for me because I had done everything. I had done everything. So I think every time I do a blog on this, as I stated in the last video, I will make comparisons throughout the video in reference to Ozempic and bariatric surgery. Because again, there are some similarities, very minute, but still similarities. This is a great process because what I'm discovering, the first maybe 3 months, and we all start at 0.25 and you go up from there, depending on your body and how you process things. The one thing, well, I've noticed many things, but the biggest standout for me is when I was doing my research, I couldn't find anybody like me. What does that mean? I didn't come across anyone who had had bariatric surgery and who wanted to do this as an option at this point. I didn't find anyone. And so I discovered, like in a lot of situations that I come across, that there isn't anybody like me. So with that in mind, I'm sort of like a guinea pig, but I'm okay with that. I monitor everything really closely. That's I credit bariatric surgery for that because I went into it with my eyes completely wide open and it completely changed my life. It was never designed to be a permanent solution to my problem. The goal of bariatric is to give you tools to prepare you to manage your weight. It doesn't do that, but it does change your body forever. It does do that. You're changed forever. I've never been able to eat the way I ate before the surgery. Never, ever. I've never been able to in over 20 years. What I have found is that over time, I have continued to make adjustments because I'll be okay for a while. Meaning, once I met my goal, and you might say, well, how long did it take you to lose your weight? Well, let's see. First 6 months, I had lost 100 pounds. And then from that point, it's I had maybe another 50, 60 pounds to go. Because when I got to my top tier, my goal was to lose 150 pounds. But when I finally got to where I was comfortable, it was 145. So I would say it took me maybe another 6 months because the closer you get to your goal, the slower the weight will come off. The bigger you are, the more quickly you can shed weight because you have more to shed. You don't think so when you're in the thick of it. You think, oh my God, this is taking forever. But no, you will find that the closer you get to your goal, and I don't mean 10, 20 pounds out. If you have, say, 70 pounds and you lose 20, oh, I'm at a plateau. No, you're not. I've heard a lot of people say that. No, you're not at a plateau. What you are is, and it's so important to pay attention to your body. Your body talks to you. You just have to listen. It lets you know when things are changing. And what you have to know is when they go in and rearrange things inside, your body is changing. Is everything changing like that? No. It's a process. It's going to take a while for your body to figure out what have you done, because we're talking about the mind and the body. At some point, they have to get on the same page so that you can be successful, because that is the goal. It is very hard. It is extremely hard, but it is absolutely doable. It is very doable. I was so pleased as I watched the weight come off, as my body started to change right before my very eyes. Now, I, at that time, was working in a factory. I had really good insurance, but even then, this type of surgery was kind of like groundbreaking at that time. And it was difficult for me to even get approved. Even though I had every reason to be approved, I had a lot of health issues. Um, Anything that I have that's going on with my body, there's no cure for it. I'm just stuck with it, and I have to learn how to manage my life with it. And I've done that successfully. If things had gone the way doctors said they would go, I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't even be here. So one could say I've defied the odds of what my path should have been. What it did was set me off on a course of trying to live better, healthier, so that I could have a more productive, successful life. That's always been my goal. Now, here I am. Let's fast forward. I'll be 67 next month. And recently, in the past year, I had some major health issues. Nothing that took me to the hospital. So imagine, in the midst of the pandemic, for me to get really ill, but not enough to go to the hospital. Not only that, not enough for them to even diagnose me, other than to say that what is already there is only progressing, which is very puzzling to me, because that doesn't even answer my question. I'm even more frustrated. The moral of the story is, I went to bed one day and I was fine. As fine as I could be for a woman in her 60s. I was fine. I had been living my life in the midst of the pandemic, but I was fine for all intents and purposes. I had just come back from out of town. I had just driven over 600 miles. No, for me, that's not unusual. That's normal for me. So, because when you go to the doctor, the first thing they ask is, have you done anything unusual? Has anything changed in your life? No. Nothing's changed, nothing's different. But what had changed is when I got up the next day, I couldn't get out of bed. I had never felt pain like that. I couldn't move anything. For me to um, um, even turn in my bed was extremely painful. I couldn't even go to the doctor. I couldn't do anything. I was immobile. I was terrified, because I had never experienced anything like this in my life. And I was, oh my God, what am I going to do? What is wrong with me? I don't know. I was mad. I was mad. I was very angry, because here I was in the midst of a pandemic with something that they didn't know what it was, and I was determined to find out what it was and fix it. That was my way of thinking. I want to fix it, whatever it is. I don't want to live like this. Well, it was difficult for me to even get out of bed. It was difficult for me to go to the bathroom. I had to hold on to everything. I had to hold on to the wall, hold on to everything just to go to the bathroom. I mean, we're talking really basic. I couldn't do anything. I was in bed. I literally was in bed, and I was mad. That is some combination. But the moral of the story is, I went through a lot, and the bottom line was I rejected some things because I've, over time, changed a lot of opinions about medicine and how it's practiced, and what I will accept and what I won't accept. They don't claim to always be right. That's why it's called practicing medicine. They're not always right, especially the way medicine is practiced now. We are in a state of all hands on deck, so to speak. When you go to the doctor, you know that you go in and they don't even know who you are. They have to look on the file to see who they're dealing with. So they don't have your history. Even if you have a history with them, they They don't know you. They don't know what's happened since the last time they saw you. So what that means is you got to be on top of it. Knowing that, and I know when it first happened, it was difficult for me to adjust to now this is how it's done because I had grew up with the same doctor. I'm old school. I had the same doctor from the time I was a kid until the time I was an adult. So yeah, he knew me. You know, his nurse knew us. They knew us all. But that's not the kind of medicine we have now. We have medicines that insurance dictate that they can only spend like 3 minutes with each patient. So they're not going to get to know you. So with that in mind, you got to be on it. You got to know they're prescribing you the right thing at the right dosage. And yeah, it would be great if it stopped there. But you got to make sure when you go to the pharmacy that they've given you the right medication for you, that it's the right dosage, and that it's not going to counteract with whatever else you're taking. I do that every time I go to the drugstore. If a doctor has called in a prescription or supposed to, or a lab work or whatever it is, I check everywhere. I check at the doctor's office. I check at the lab. I check everybody. Why? That's easier than me getting upset. That's easier than me going to Quest Lab and them telling me, oh, we don't have any orders here for you. I said, how can you not have orders for me when she told me she called them in? He said, I'm sorry, we don't have them. Now, I could get upset, but what would that accomplish? Nothing. So the moral of that story is I stopped doing all that, relying on people to do their jobs, and I just go a step further and making sure that everything is what it's supposed to be. That means checking with the doctor, checking with the doctor's assistants, checking with the lab, checking with everybody to make sure, basically doing a confirmation on everything that's supposed to be. I got so far off of what this video is supposed to be today. I thought about just going live. I thought about it because I was on the phone earlier with someone, and when I get to talking about doctors or somebody else gets to talking about that whole process, my head starts spinning and I think about the seriousness of it all. I recently went and took labs. That's another thing with Ozempic. You really want to stay on top of your labs. Uh, uh, if you haven't, and I know a lot of people don't, and this is something I started a long time ago when I got diagnosed with lupus. That's when I started to pay attention to my lab work. So now it's just routine for me. I always watch them, not to mention Quest Lab, as long as you download the app, you can make your appointments there. You can confirm your appointments there, but you can also check your labs. Now, you might say, but I don't know what I'm looking at. I didn't know what I was looking at when I first started doing it either. It's like anything else. I learned, I learned. So from the first lab to the one I went last week because I have a doctor's appointment in a few days. And that's another thing. If you know that you need labs before your appointment, go get your labs so that when you go for your appointment, you don't go in there and the doctor says, well, they're flipping through and they say, well, I haven't got your lab back yet. I haven't got your lab work back yet. I said, well, I went in the amount of time. I'm sorry, but I don't have your lab work yet. Well, the way to avoid that is for you to make sure that you go to the lab in enough time. And that's going to be a different timeline depending on where you're at in the country. During the pandemic, it was crazy. And it took a lot longer to get labs back. But things are getting back on track now. And they generally have a pretty quick turnaround. Generally, it's a couple days. But the moral of the story is when the results are in, which lately have been like within 24 hours, if I go today, tomorrow morning, those labs will post. And it'll show up on my on all my gadgets, and I'm able to go from the last result, from my last test, last labs until now, and look at the numbers. And it also shows you where it should be. And it'll also show you if it's normal, if it's low, if it's high. Everything's right there. You just have to look, you know. You might think, well, I feel fine. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm sure you've heard of people who just dropped. They had no clue. Well, kind of did. People just don't pay attention. They don't, you know. Why should I bother with that? Well, you need to remember that this is a career choice for these people. You are not their first concern. You're not even their last concern. You are a patient seeing a doctor. He will not remember you until the next time he sees you. You're not on his mind. You're not important to him. You're important to you. So if you want to be an advocate for your health, you really want to go ahead. Somebody is trying to call me. You really want to do that, you know, and I probably will say this. I probably will say this during many of these type of videos. But the point is, something I noticed different this time, and I had made this request before. I can't say it enough times how thankful I am to have the doctor that I have. I haven't always had her. Matter of fact, we have a new relationship, something I only started doing recently, maybe the past 10 years. I used to just go with the flow. I'm no different than anybody else. This is all this big learning curve. And I got to the point I didn't want, it kind of started with my gynecologist. I got to the point I didn't want a male gynecologist anymore. I didn't. And I insisted it had to be a female. So now I'm to the point I want all my doctors, because I'll tell you something, and maybe you noticed it, maybe you don't. They have different approaches in dealing with patients, male doctors versus female doctors. What I find with a male doctor, he tends to get right to, in other words, he'll skip over the explanation part of it, as much of it as he possibly can, whether you got it or not, and get right to it. And you're sitting there with all these questions, and he doesn't want to bother with that. You can insist, but you're still going to get limited, you know. Anyway, the moral of the story is all my doctors currently are female, because that's how I want it. I don't want a male doctor. Does that mean, okay, I never come in contact with a male doctor? No. My doctor, one of my specialists referred me to a different type of specialist. I think it was this year, a doctor that dealt specifically with blood diseases because of the lupus. And my white cell count, which is monitored really close, was extremely elevated. So I went from a rheumatologist to a hematologist, which I didn't know anything about that kind of doctor. And all she wanted to do was watch, which was frustrating to me because she was way across town. I said, I'm coming all the way over here. I've got the labs, but according to you, there's nothing to do but just keep watching. I said, that doesn't match with my specialist who sent me to you, because she was alarmed. And she's a specialist, but she sent me to you. But you just want to watch it. Well, hell, she can watch it if you're not going to do anything. I left that office one day. I saw her. I don't want you to think no. I think I saw her for about 6 times. So 6 times to see a doctor is at least a year. You know, it's not like you're going every few weeks. No. The whole medical thing is a very lengthy process of waiting. And I got really frustrated, and I left there that day after she said, well, I'll see you in another 3 or 4 months. I'll order the labs. I I left there, and when I got in my car, I called my doctor very upset. I said, I know the goal here. I know what you were thinking, but this doctor's a waste of my time. So we can just squash that. I'm not coming back here. She's not doing anything. If you check her notes, you'll see she's done nothing. She's not ordered one test. She's done nothing. So I'm not coming back here. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, or refer me to another one. Well, she referred me to another one. The difference was this was a surgeon. And I don't know if you know this, but when you're referred to a surgeon, surgeons have one thought. They don't practice medicine. They cut. They just want to cut. So I had to wait months for this appointment, but I went to see this doctor, and all he said was he wanted to give me a bone marrow biopsy. Well, I'd already been against this. I said, that's off the table. I'm not letting you do that. I had one when I was really young, and it was so traumatic. I said, I'll never do it again. I don't care. I will never do it again. So he says, well, that's the only thing we can do. I said, well, I guess this visit is over because I'm not doing that. He says, well, there's nothing I can do for you. He said, because we need that test to see. I said, well, if that's the only way you're going to see, you won't see. So I left. And as I said, I do my research and I keep it moving. And I'm always looking for new supplements to see what I can take to go with what I'm doing. And I got completely off track, and I apologize to everyone for this, but this was so needed information. These are not conclusions I come to in a moment. This takes years to discover this stuff. Nobody tells us this. We just have to figure it out if we're lucky enough. But the point I want to make with Ozempic is it's been the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I made a video recently this week. I've made several. Some of them I have posted, some of them I haven't. Some of them show you what I eat, what I have eaten, what I'll continue to eat, as well as I made some showing. Now, I know that I posted some videos that show me wearing a lot of costumes. It was, Halloween. But I recently, I think a couple of days ago, I went in my closet and I had these, like so many of us, I had these blue jeans folded up. You know how you wash blue jeans and you fold them. I had them, I think like 4 pair that were up on a shelf in my closet. And as you know why we put stuff there. Maybe I'll be able to wear them one day. That was me. Because I really liked them, and that's why I kept them. So there I was in there I don't even know why I was in the closet. Well, I know I've been sorting and separating things, getting ready to get stuff ready. As some of you know who've followed my channel, I donate a lot of stuff to the shelter here. I, like so many women, have been one of those women. And so I have a big part in my heart. I understand the need because many, many, many years ago, decades ago, I was one of those women who found myself in a domestic violence shelter, and I needed someplace. So whenever I think about it, I get stuff together, whether it's food, clothes, whatever. I get whatever, anything, household, anything, any and everything. I get it ready. I always wait because it takes me a while, I'll come across things and I'll start making a pile. I do it like that. Same way with food. I just make a pile until I'm ready. So every couple of weeks, literally, I go over there and take stuff. And I'll say that, I'll put that out there to everyone who may be listening, who will be listening. Please donate to your shelters, especially to your domestic violence shelters, because none of us know when that may be us. Or maybe we know someone who, because that's not a conversation people have. They're not sitting around sipping wine talking about, oh, girl, you know, I was at the shelter last night. People aren't talking about they were running for their life and they were at a shelter, had to go to a shelter because if they didn't, they were going to get killed. Nobody's talking about that. You know, they're hoping nobody finds out. And I'm no exception. The point is, I was one of those women. And that's the reason why I donate every chance I get. So I have went on and on and on. And I think since I did not say what my topic was as far as Ozempic, I'm going to stop this right here and I'm going to make another video because I had some tips. But this video is 30 minutes long. And I think I could just run this longer, but YouTube is encouraging us to, you know, they want us to do these shorts. So I've been trying to get on that bandwagon. And that's why I mentioned the going in my closet. I pulled out those pants that, of course, it brought back a memory. I had worn the, I was wearing that when I first got here. When I first got here, I think I was about 170 pounds. I think. So right there, I had gained more than 20 pounds from my surgery. My surgery was like in 2000, 2001. This was 2008. So that's 7 years. I had gained at least 20 pounds. I was terrified because I had still been trying to figure out this weight starting to come back. It's coming back. It's coming back. What am I going to do? The point is, until now, I didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer. Even though everything about this had changed as far as how I eat, how I consume, everything had changed. Not because of Ozempic, but because I had had bariatric surgery. That changed me forever. Say, my body has an internal thermostat that anytime I eat sugar, especially like granulated, or some people say white sugar, anytime I consume that in any form, it literally takes my body temperature up just like that. I don't mean 5-10 minutes later. I mean seconds. That's how quickly my body reacts to it. And I get really hot all over. Now, that was one thing I noticed right away. And it's the same way I mentioned in the other video about me with spaghetti and sauce and cheese and all that. I had 2 bites. And just like that. That's due to the surgery. But Ozempic, what I noticed when I would change my dosage, and again, for me, that's not something that the doctor, that was not her suggestion. She was comfortable with letting me decide when I should adjust my dosage. And I stayed at like 0.25 for about a month and a half because all this was just so foreign to me, to be sticking needles in my body. I never stuck a needle in my body, ever. The only time needles were stuck in me with nurses, you know, in the hospital. I'd never held a needle in my hand, nothing. I knew nothing about it. So I was still, even a month, 2 months into this, I was still scared. You might say, well, were you losing weight? Yeah, but that's not the only, when you're younger, you're more careless. But when you start to get older, you're just much more cautious about everything. The point is, I'm just very conscious of everything. When things change, I know everything that I put in my body, everything that I eat, how much of it I eat. That's from the surgery. The surgery did that. I'm very conscious. And that, I mean, it's been 20 years. And I'm still very much aware of all that. And my body continues to change, even with Ozempic. This is a much slower process because the first 2 months, I think, maybe even 2.5, maybe 3 months, I was losing like 10 pounds a month. But then I started to notice that it was coming off a little slower. And it was scary to me because I'm like, I thought this was in my head. I thought this was going to come. Because see, when I had the surgery, I was getting on scale every day. Now you might say, why would somebody get on a scale every day? Because that scale is your gauge. It's going to let you know if you're okay, because you know we're going to test it. You're going to eat something and think, oh, that's okay. And you're going to find out that's not okay when you get on that scale, especially because you might think, well, you lose it fast. Well, but maybe if you gain weight, oh, maybe I will only gain a pound. Like if you had some drinks or something. No, we all know who've taken this journey that alcohol has a lot of sugar in it. And because it does, among other things, you're going to gain weight. You're going to gain weight. So I'm not a real drinker, so it doesn't affect me so much. Okay. But other things do. So with this process, with Ozempic, and this is something I've figured out. That's why I say this is a journey. It made me I was thinking about something the other day, and how people will say, or like when I'm getting ready to take a trip, I'm so focused on getting to my destination, people forget about the journey. What was happening before you got there, like what happened along the way. That's the part you're going to remember. Oh, you'll remember, somewhere back there in your brain what number you got to as far as your weight. But what you will remember more are the life lessons that you picked up along the way, like the things I'm discussing with you about how often to get on the scale, and the things, and paying attention to your body when your body is talking to you, when something makes you sick. Don't think you can defy it, because you can't. You will pay for it. I can remember when I had the surgery and I had lost all the weight. And it's funny because you will find, if you don't know this, if you're a single woman and you get to your goal, they will be coming out of the woodwork. You need one of those daily planners for all the dates you'll get, because I never even know. Let me stop. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to save that for another video. But my point is, I weigh twice a week. I weigh on Fridays. That's the day I do my shot. And I weigh on Tuesdays. I decided Tuesdays because for me, that's kind of like the middle of the week. And it's a gauge. It helps me to know if from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if I did something wrong. But see, if I just wait and don't get on the scale but once a week, I'm not going to know if I did something wrong. My point is, by going down the middle, that gives me an opportunity to fix it. See? Because you don't want to go a whole week thinking you've done just about everything right, to only find out you did everything wrong. But you don't know what it was you did wrong. When I started this process, I said to myself, and this is me bringing my history with me of having bariatric surgery. That's why I always bring it up. I'm sure I will always bring it up because I have nothing else to compare it to. And there are some similarities, as faint as they may be, but there's still similarities because the goals are the same. I weigh twice a week. And I knew going into this, I had a goal. I wanted to lose about 75, 80 pounds. But now that I'm more than halfway to my goal, I see that, as I stated in the last video, I'm just going to set little minute goals, and get to that one, and treat yourself with every goal. Don't just, be cavalier about it. These are big deals. It's a big deal every time you reach a goal. I don't mean every week. I mean, like, for example, I said 75, 80 pounds. Well, I'm almost at 60, but I still feel like I'm the same size. I talked about that in the last video. That's why when I was able to get in those blue jeans, even though I got a great big mirror, I saw myself, I don't believe it. I don't believe I'm able to get in those pants. And I haven't been able to wear those pants in almost 15 years. So I said, well, if I can wear those, maybe I can wear this other stuff that's back in the closet. So I tried on, I think, 4 or 5 different other things. Everything didn't fit right. Okay. There was one dress that was made differently. It's a straight dress. And as you know, those of us girls who are hippie, we don't do so well with straight dresses because we're hippie, which means we generally, you want to go with your body form. That means an A-line. But if you're going to go with a straight dress, you want it to fit. The problem is because it's straight, that means it doesn't have any curves. I have a dress that I've had 15 years and I have never been able to, it has never fit the way I wanted it to. I put that dress on. I made a video. I haven't put it out yet, but I made a video. Why? I want you to know this ties into what I was talking about in reference to goals. That is my next goal. Do I have a number on that? No. No. That dress is a size 10. The sizes in these videos that I will post, those dresses are size 12. This dress, the one I'm talking about, which is my next goal, is a straight dress. And what that means is, if I were a 10 and an A-line, that's going to be bigger, which means it's going to be loose. But a straight dress, you have to be smaller because it's straight. You know what I mean. And for those of you who don't, I hope that I've explained it enough so that you have an idea of what I mean. I'm at a point in my life where I understand my body. And I know that's not true for everyone. We've all seen people wear clothes and you wonder, why do they have that on? I'm not one of those people. I heard a guy on a YouTube channel, God rest him, he's not here anymore, but he talked about something. He's talking about men, but it applies to women as well. You really want to get something tailored. And you might say, well, what does that mean? We believe, because we've been taught to believe, that if you go to a store and you find something in your size, that it should fit. Well, you've seen that. It doesn't. It doesn't fit in all the right places. Something I started doing long ago when I started having things made for me, only when it was special occasion. I would have something made, usually something formal. But what I learned in that process was that was the only way it was going to fit, the way I really wanted it to, because they take measurements and they continually, or like when I was getting married, and they'd always have to do these adjustments. One of my marriages, every time I went in for a fitting, I had lost weight. I was such a nervous wreck. Every time they had to change it, That only happened once, one wedding. That never happened again. Stress never stopped me from gaining weight. Usually it goes the other way. But the point is, think about finding yourself a seamstress or someone who does alterations. When you buy clothes, take your stuff and let them do the nipping and tucking. It's a very small price to pay for stuff to fit right. It really is, because you'll be so pleased when you see yourself in them, whether it's a dress or a pair of pants, or it doesn't matter, or just a shirt. You know, I wear some shirts, kind of that button, but you've seen the shirts that are called tailor-made for women. They have the darts in the back. That gives you a more tailored fit, means it's more fitting, which is what you want. You don't want something that's bagging in the middle or on the side or it's too long, or you can fix that. You know, you might say, well, couldn't I just get a bigger size? Or no. Think about it. These clothes are designed with a motto in mind. That's their motto. For those of us who've ever watched Project Runway, you've seen these designers make clothes, and it's only been in recent years that they would get fuller figure models. The people who have always been the blueprint for these clothes are very thin, not shapely people, had no hip at all. So think about that. These clothes are not designed to fit. So with that in mind, you want to take them. Whenever I go to a town, if I'm living there, I find a seamstress. I really do. Because people still sew. They still sew. You just have to hunt them up because they're no different than anybody else out there who's selling the service. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones. Find one that works for you, who understands you when you talk, and who, when you explain to them you want this, this, and this, that they understand. I've taken blue jeans. You can take anything, anything. It could be a coat, anything you want, and have it tailored to you so that it does you no good to go through, make all these sacrifices, spend all this money, and lose all this weight to only go and just get something off the rack and it still doesn't fit right, even though you've lost the weight, but it doesn't fit right. It never fit right. That's the moral of this story. It's never going to fit right until you go and get it altered. Now, some people think that means, well, they needed to put a hem in it, or they needed, no. It means that anywhere it's not fitting you the way you want it, that's where they got to do the nipping and the tucking and adjusting. Maybe some of the straps need to be cut off, straps too long, or just whatever it is. They're used to it. They understand. You just tell them where you want it nipped and tucked, and they'll do that for you. I've had costumes altered. I will alter anything because I've been doing this a long time. So I'll take anything. I've taken a bra to my seamstress to have her alter it for me. I don't care what it is. If I've shopped and did everything looking for the just right one for me and I still can't find it, I'll get something similar and go have them fix it for me. That's what you do. That's what you do. So, I have ranted and raved, but the moral of the story is all this ties in together because one day you will reach your goal and you will feel good in your mind and you will try on something and you'll think, something's not right, but you won't know what it is. I don't really feel anybody's necessarily addressing this, and these are other topics. I've went into a lot of different areas, but the focus is you can be successful on Ozempic. And I know I've shared some information with some people and they've gotten the wrong impression. As I said, I don't know anybody like me when it comes to this process. I don't know anybody who had bariatric. I know people who had the sleeve. That's not the same thing. It is not the same. I know too many people, it's like they got a blue light special on that thing. I mean, because I wasn't paying attention until the last couple of years. Everybody and their mama's getting that sleeve, and that should be against the law for them to just throw it out there like that. And these people go home and they're not successful. You know why? Because they've been led to believe that they reached a plateau. No, they haven't. Because they know when they went home, they didn't do anything they were supposed to. Or if they did, they tried to cheat and think, oh, I can have a little bit. No. See, and that was it. When I had the surgery, I couldn't have anything that I had had before. Nothing was the same. When I say nothing was the same, nothing was the same. I hear these people, I talk to people who made no changes. They made no changes. They thought they could skimp or miss a few meals and still be successful. That's not how that works. And I've heard many women talk about constipation. That is a drawback of Ozempic. I've heard some people talk about probiotics. And when I had bariatric, I don't remember having constipation. But in my research, I had heard several people talk about enemas. I didn't know anything about an enema other than when I was in the hospital. And they do that. They give you one because they want to make sure. And that, I had only been in the hospital to give birth. So they do that in the hospital. But that was the only experience I'd had with that. But me personally, right now, I've tried everything. Now, I heard a girl the other day say she tried prunes. Well, see, that kind of stuff is too sweet for me. I can't do that. So I went on Amazon and I found two or three different things. One of them worked okay, but I brought up enema for this reason because before I get on the scale to do my actual weight, I want to know I'm completely cleaned out. And the only way I can do that is to give myself an enema. Now, I started doing this when when I did bariatric. That's when I first started doing the whole enema thing. But then when everything was all over, then I went normal, and I was regular, and I have been for, 10, 15 years. I've been normal. As long as I eat greens, I'm good every day. But when I started doing these shots, that changed right away. And I went from being regular every day like clockwork to all of a sudden I'm not going at all. And I don't have to tell you, that's miserable. So I started looking for something. I found these tablets on Amazon. And I'd look at all the reviews like I do for everything else. And people would give these great reviews. But I know my system. And I said, but I'll try it. I'm not going to judge. I'll try it. They work. All of them will work to a point. And maybe it's because I'm conditioned. And I know a lot of people say, an enema? I would never do an enema. Well, they sell this stuff everywhere. You can go up to Walmart. They sell 4-packs, 6-packs, and you can do it on the toilet. But what I found in this process is that I had to do it so often, meaning once a week. That's a lot for me to do. I know there are people who do it every day. That's not healthy. That's my disclaimer. Don't do that every day. There's nothing right about a situation when your body can't function normally. Say, that's not normal. But think about this. You maybe have watched segments where they talk about how the body digests and how long body waste sits in the bowel, okay? How long it sits. Think about that. If you give yourself an enema, it's no different than getting a detox, going to a spa. What do you think they do? That's the exact same thing they do. They take that syringe and they stick it up your butt with a solution in it. And you're supposed to hold it for however long you can hold it. And then you got to go to the toilet and release it. That's the real of it. That's what happens when you go to the spa. They got different fragrances and stuff that they can do. And all that's your choice. I rather just keep it. I notice now the only kind they sell at Walmart is the saline kind. You can get creative. Like I said, I was buying the disposable kind. But as you know, it's just like when you give yourself a douche, women or men, whomever, when you do that, it's a little bitty bottle. What does it have? Oh, I don't know. What, 4 ounces of water? It's not that much water. Do you really think that much water is going to go up in here and flush all that out? It's not. So after about, I don't want you to think I came to this decision overnight. I think it was like after I realized, after me taking all these various supplements, it wasn't getting it for me. I decided to order, and believe me, I haven't had one of these since I was a young woman. I bought a douche bag, rather than me every couple of weeks going to Walmart buying a pack. As much, even though it's cheap, it's like $4, and you get 4 or 6. I'm not sure, depending on where you buy them at. But I said, this is ridiculous. I'm spending this money every couple of weeks. Why don't I just go on Amazon and order me one? So I went on Amazon, looked for one, and know they are kind of like they used to be, but they're not. So you got to look around, find what works for you. And it was still under $20, under $20. The difference is with the ones I got at Walmart, that's disposable. You got to throw that away. I went with the permanent because it came with all its own attachments, several of them. And all I got to do every week is fill up the water to the temperature I want and put whatever solution I want in it. Remember, this is going in your butt. So you want it to be a lubricant of some kind. You can use any kind of oil you want, or you don't have to. I prefer to. And put that in there. And apparently I should do a video on that. I realize that now. I'll do a video on that because I haven't seen anybody talking about that. They're talking about all these different probiotics and prunes and stuff that you can take, or prune juice. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I'm used to going every day. I watch one girl, every time she does her Ozempic video, she talks about bowel movements. And no, I'm not going to talk about it again. I'm telling you what I do, and I do it once a week. That's it. And between that time, I do the supplements and let it do what it's going to do. And that's it. So unless you have questions, then please, by all means, if you have questions about anything I've discussed, please, please, please leave your comments. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. Please, please, please. This is Alice at Wonderland Speaks. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell if you at all enjoy my content. I will see you guys very soon. And I'm going to be putting one out every week. I'm not going to show you results every week, but, and I said that because you're not going to be losing weight every week. You'll get on the scale and sometimes all you've done is maintain. That's still an accomplishment. Don't beat yourself up about it. That is still an accomplishment. See? So do not make light of your small successes. Any success is a success and it should be praised. Pat yourself on the back. You did a good job. Okay? Again, this is Alice at Wonderland Speaks. Please, please be blessed and take care of yourself. Please leave your comments if you got any questions.